What's happening, good people? Welcome to Leadership in Real Life, where we talk about what leadership actually looks like when you're in it every single day. I'm H-Monét, leadership coach, former school principal, and founder of H-Monét Consulting. I help leaders who feel stuck balancing their people, their workload, and their performance expectations learn how to lead with both empathy and accountability so they can build strong teams and get real results without burning out. These are your leadership in real life moments, short, real, and straight to the point. Because leadership doesn't happen in theory. It happens in real time. So let's get into it. So now today's episode, this one right here is for every leader who feels like their team comes to them for everything, every question, every decision, every problem, every next step. And let me say this with love. If your team comes to you for everything, you train them to. Yep. And so now before y'all log off, let me explain. Because most leaders don't do this intentionally. It usually starts from a good place. You want to be helpful. Yep. Supportive, accessible, responsive. So every time somebody comes to you with a problem, you immediately answer it. You fix it. You solve it. You step in quickly. And at first, it feels efficient. But over time, you intentionally create a team that depends on your thinking instead of developing their own. So let me give you an example. Your team member walks in and says, "What should I do about this situation?" And before they even finish the question, you already have the answer. Or maybe they send you an email asking for clarity. And instead of coaching them through the thought process, you just solve it for them. Or maybe somebody hits a barrier in their work. And instead of helping them think critically through the issue, you immediately jump into rescue mode. And so after a while, you become the bottleneck, the decision maker for everything, the emotional support system, the fixer, the problem solver. And then the leaders start saying, "Why does everybody depend on me so much?" Well, that is because dependency was unintentionally built into the culture. And most leaders don't realize it until it is too late. Overhelping actually underdevelops your team. So I just want to be clear. Supporting your team is not the problem. Balanced leadership is never about becoming cold, distant, or unavailable. The issue is when leaders confuse constant rescuing with effective leadership. Real leadership is not just solving problems, it's developing people who can solve problems with you and eventually without you. And this is where so many leaders struggle. Especially leaders who are high capacity, high achieving, or deeply caring, because the helping feels productive, the fixing feels faster, stepping in feels easier than coaching somebody through the process. But the problem is that every time you answer everything immediately, you rob your team of the opportunity to think critically, build confidence, practice decision-making, strengthen ownership, and eventually your team stops trying to think before they come to you. They just come to you because the culture taught them that, the leader, they'll just answer it anyway. Now let me connect this to balanced leadership. Balanced leadership is empathy plus accountability plus results. And one of the biggest mistakes leaders make is leading with empathy without accountability for growth. And leaders who lead empathetically without accountability think, "I care about my people so much that I keep rescuing them from discomfort." But guess what? That growth you want your team to achieve requires productive struggle. That development that you think they need requires them to think. That confidence you want them to have to take initiative is built through practice, not dependence. So the goal is not, how can I solve everything for my team? The better question is, how can I develop thinkers on my team? Strong teams are not built by leaders who carry everything. Strong teams are built by leaders who coach their people, take time to develop them, clarify for them, and create ownership. So what are the first steps to building a coaching culture on your team? And I want to make this super practical and easy to implement. So follow me. All right, step 1, stop immediately answering. And I know that's hard. But every question that you're asked does not require an immediate solution from you. Sometimes your first response should simply be to ask, what are your thoughts? Or what solutions have you considered already? Now, this is important for a couple reasons. It's important because this approach shifts the expectation from leader gives the answers to we think through problems together. That's step one. Now, step two is to normalize thinking before escalation. So this means before the team member brings you a problem, encourage them to do a couple of things. Consider possible solutions ahead of coming to you. Think through ideas, potential next steps, or at least have their initial thinking outlined for you. This helps to create ownership in problem solving. Step three, coach through the barriers instead of removing them immediately. Now, this right here is important because every discomfort does not require rescue. Sometimes your role is not to remove the obstacle. It's to help people develop the skills to navigate the obstacles. And that's the actual leadership development part. And then step four is to build reflection into conversations. Instead of ending every interaction with, here's what you should do next time, try ending them by asking, what did you learn from this? What would you do differently next time? What support do you need moving forward? And that's how thinking develops for them in problem solving. So let me give you a simple coaching framework you can start using immediately with your team. When someone comes to you with a problem, step one, you should clarify the issue. So ask them questions like, what's the real challenge here? What's making this hard? Step two, you need to explore their thinking. So ask questions like, what solutions have you considered already? What do you think your next step should be? Step three, identify barriers by asking them, what's making this difficult right now for you, or why won't your solutions work to solve the issue? Step four, you support ownership. Ask them questions like, okay, so what's your next step? Or what do you think your next step should be? And step five, offer support without taking over. Ask questions like, how can I support you through this? What would support look like? And that's it. You clarify the issue, you explore their thinking, you identify barriers, you support ownership, and you offer support without taking over. Do y'all hear the difference with this approach? And using this coaching framework, you're still feeling supportive, you're still being present, you're still engaged, but you're no longer carrying all the thinking for your team. And that is what creates stronger leadership cultures. When leadership stops rescuing their teams, the teams start growing. But I want to be clear when I say this process takes patience. And your team is going to initially feel comfortable when you stop immediately answering everything. But that's normal. You're shifting the culture, and that's going to feel uncomfortable for a while. You're moving from dependency to development, from constant reaction to intentional coaching. And over time, you'll start to notice the improvement and the shift on your team. There'll be stronger ownership, better critical thinking, improved confidence, less decision fatigue for you, and more empowered team members. You're cultivating an empowered team culture. Be clear when I say this, leadership is not being the need for everything. It's about developing people well enough that they can think, lead, and problem solve effectively for themselves. So here's what I want you to do this week. When your team member comes to you with a problem, I want you to pause before giving the answer. And instead, I want you to ask at least one of the coaching questions first. That's it. Start there. And if this conversation hits home for you, I want you to do a couple of things. I want you to, number one, you need to be subscribed to Balance Leadership with H-Monét, my YouTube channel. Two, I want you to DM me priorities for a couple of things, my clarity guide and my weekly wrap-up routine, because these are foundational steps to providing that leadership clarity that initiates the process of building a more empowered, independent team. And then I want you to visit my website to see how we could possibly partner and even schedule a free Power Hour strategy session. You want some feedback now on how your team is performing? Schedule a Power Hour so we can talk about it. I want you to know that leadership should not feel like you're carrying everything alone. You have a team for a reason, but you have to develop them effectively in order for them to be the effective team that you need. As always, remember, lead with your heart, lead with strategy, and build a leadership that actually lasts. I look forward to seeing you next week in the next Leadership in Real Life moment. Peace.